Hey folks, before we jump in, I just want to remind you to follow SkyAlert USA so you don't miss this video or any of our future updates. If you find our coverage helpful, please support us by subscribing, liking, and dropping a comment below. It really helps us keep bringing you the weather info you need. Good morning, America and Canada. This is your SkyAlert USA, bringing you the most comprehensive weather coverage for February 11th, 2026. We are witnessing one of the most active and dangerous weather patterns to grip North America in recent memory. From powerful atmospheric rivers slamming the west coast to brutal Arctic outbreaks freezing the east and everything in between, today's weather update is one you absolutely cannot afford to miss. As we stand on this Wednesday morning, February 11th, 2026, millions of Americans and Canadians are facing simultaneous weather threats that span the entire continent. Winter refuses to loosen its grip on the east, while the west coast battles a relentless parade of Pacific storms. This isn't just weather, this is a continental-scale atmospheric battle that's reshaping our winter of 2026. Right now, as you watch this, a weak but significant atmospheric river is making landfall across California. This system began its assault on Northern California yesterday evening, February 10th, and will continue its march southward through Thursday, February 12th. The National Weather Service has confirmed that this short-duration atmospheric river event, while not as catastrophic as previous systems, still packs enough punch to create serious hazards. Northern California and the Sierra Nevada are currently experiencing the brunt of this system. San Francisco and the Bay Area woke up to steady rain this morning, with rainfall rates reaching moderate intensity. The coast ranges are acting as a natural barrier, forcing moisture upward and creating enhanced precipitation along west-facing slopes. Rainfall totals of 2 to 4 inches are expected across much of the California coast north of Los Angeles by this evening. But here's where it gets really interesting and dangerous. The Sierra Nevada is experiencing a winter wonderland scenario. Snow levels have dropped to between 6,000 and 7,000 feet, and snow rates are exceeding 1 to 2 inches per hour at times. The National Weather Service has issued winter storm warnings for the Sierra, and forecasters are predicting significant accumulations. This is welcome news for California's snowpack, which currently sits at approximately 50% of normal for early February. However, this blessing comes with a curse. Travel over mountain passes, particularly the critical Interstate 80 corridor through Donner Pass, is expected to become extremely hazardous. High wind warnings are currently in effect for San Bernardino County mountains and the Apple and Lucerne valleys until 1 p.m. Pacific time today. We're talking about south winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour, with gusts reaching 60 miles per hour across the high deserts, and even more extreme gusts up to 70 miles per hour through mountain passes and along exposed slopes. These damaging winds have already begun toppling trees and power lines, with travel extremely difficult for high-profile vehicles. Southern California isn't being spared either. While the heaviest precipitation remains north of Los Angeles, a marginal risk for excessive rainfall has been issued for the Transverse Mountain Range. The primary concern here isn't the total rainfall amount, but rather the short-duration, intense rainfall rates that could trigger flash flooding, particularly in areas sensitive from previous storms and near burn scars from the 2024 Bridge and Vista fires. The Pacific Northwest is experiencing a temporary lull today, but don't be fooled. Forecast models are hinting at renewed atmospheric river activity targeting the region later this week. Washington and Oregon residents should remain vigilant and prepared for additional storm systems that could bring heavy rain and mountain snow by the weekend. The Central Plains and Upper Midwest find themselves in a transition zone today, a brief calm between storm systems. However, this calm is deceptive. A clipper system, one of those quick-moving but impactful low-pressure systems that originate in Canada, is tracking across the region and will bring light to moderate snow accumulations. Montana is under winter weather advisories for portions of the northeast, where mixed precipitation is creating hazardous conditions. Total snow accumulations up to 1 inch, combined with ice accumulations around a light glaze, are making roads treacherous. This advisory remains in effect through 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Monday, February 16th. The Great Lakes region continues to deal with lake-effect snow in typical snowbelt areas. Cold air flowing over the relatively warmer lake waters is producing localized heavy snow bands, particularly downwind of Lakes Erie and Michigan. This is classic February weather for the region, but it doesn't make it any less disruptive. The eastern United States is still reeling from not one but 2 major winter storms that struck in late January and early February. Let me give you the full picture of what's transpired and what we're seeing today. This was no ordinary winter storm. Meteorologists described it as potentially historic in its scope and impact. Developing from an upper-level low on January 22nd, this massive system carved a destructive path from northern Mexico through the southern and northeastern United States and into Canada. The statistics are staggering. Nearly 2,000 miles of continuous winter weather alerts at its peak, over 230 million people under winter storm warnings or advisories, more than 300 million people under winter precipitation and cold warnings, and more than half of the contiguous United States covered by snow by January 26th. Estimated damages exceeded $4 billion. The highest number of counties under winter storm warning ever recorded happened from January 23rd to 25th. The storm produced a massive swathe of snowfall ranging from 1 to 2 feet from Texas to Maine. In the mid-Atlantic and northeast, some areas received around 20 inches of snow. Daily snowfall records were shattered across the south, where snow is a rare commodity. St. Louis saw 5.1 inches on January 24th. Pittsburgh received 11.2 inches on January 25th, and several inches fell in parts of North Texas, an extremely rare occurrence. But snow was only part of the story. Catastrophic ice accumulation crippled the southeast. Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, and parts of the southern Ohio River basin experienced devastating ice storms. At the peak, over 1 million customers lost power, with about 800,000 still without electricity by January 26th. The ice brought down trees and power lines, creating scenes of devastation across multiple states. The human toll was tragic. Multiple fatalities were reported across several states, including weather-related traffic accidents, hypothermia cases, and incidents related to power outages. In Tennessee alone, 18 people were injured in more than 160 weather-related crashes. A Brownsville man suffered a fatal heart attack while shoveling snow. An 11-year-old child died in Crockett County. Just when communities thought they could catch their breath, Mother Nature delivered a devastating 1-2 punch. A powerful nor'easter developed off the Carolina coast on January 31st and rapidly intensified into a bomb cyclone. This storm brought historic snowfall to the southeast, particularly North Carolina. Charlotte Douglas International Airport recorded 11 inches of snow on January 31st, tying with a December 1880 winter storm for the fourth highest single-day snow total in the city's history. But honestly, that's not even the most impressive number. The Outer Banks of North Carolina, those beautiful barrier islands where beach weather is the norm, were buried under historic snowfall. Some areas received over a foot of snow, with reports of rare thundersnow and wind gusts exceeding 60 miles per hour, creating snowdrifts as high as 8 feet. North Carolina Governor Josh Stein reported that the record-breaking snowstorm caused more than 1,000 collisions, including 2 fatalities and a traffic jam involving more than 100 vehicles. The storm produced such unusual scenes that snow was reported as far south as Sarasota, Florida, prompting the Sarasota Police Department to tweet about the rare sight of flurries drifting through the city. The bomb cyclone nature of this storm meant explosive development and intensification. Wind gusts along the North Carolina coast exceeded 50 miles per hour, creating near-blizzard conditions. The system was so large and powerful that its strong winds continued to impact much of the East Coast, even after the snow ended and the storm moved deeper into the Atlantic Ocean. Today, the Northeast is experiencing what forecasters call a clipper system, a fast-moving area of low pressure bringing a quick-hitting round of snow. Winter weather advisories are in effect for portions of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire and Maine. New York State is under advisories in multiple locations. Binghamton and Buffalo NWS offices have issued warnings for up to 11 inches of snow possible. The snow began late this morning and will continue falling through Wednesday night, which is tomorrow evening. New Hampshire has the entire state under a winter weather advisory, with up to 5 inches of snow expected from Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning. The heaviest snowfall will hit during Tuesday afternoon and evening. Maine is seeing similar conditions, with light snowfall beginning Tuesday night. Although snowfall amounts will be light, around 5 inches, travel will still be impacted due to accumulations on untreated roads. The hazardous conditions could significantly affect the Wednesday morning commute. Michigan and the Upper Peninsula remain under winter weather advisories through Tuesday morning, with snowfall amounts potentially reaching up to 6 inches depending on location. Meteorologists are also warning of a light glaze of ice that could make travel particularly dangerous. The good news, and there is some good news, is that a major pattern change is on the horizon. Latest forecasts from the Climate Prediction Center indicate temperatures will be above normal for much of mid to late February across the Northeast. This warming trend should finally defrost the region after weeks of brutal cold. However, don't pack away the winter gear just yet. February is historically the snowiest month for most Northeast cities, and surprise storms can still develop. Our neighbours to the north continue to experience winter in full force. Canada's weather story today mirrors much of what's happening in the northern United States, but with its own unique challenges. Ontario and Quebec are seeing frequent snow events as active storm tracks continue along the temperature gradient. Toronto, Ottawa and Montreal are all experiencing typical February weather: cold, snowy and unforgiving. Current temperatures in Ottawa are hovering around -9 degrees Celsius, with feels-like temperatures of -16 due to wind chill. Snow is expected throughout the day, with intense precipitation of 19 millimeters predicted. The Canadian prairies remain under the grip of extreme cold. Deep cold operational issues are a constant concern, and the Trans-Canada Highway across this region is exposed to extreme cold, drifting snow and rapid visibility collapses. Travellers need to exercise extreme caution. British Columbia is experiencing its own challenges, particularly in mountain routes, which can turn hazardous quickly when Pacific moisture spikes while cold air lingers near the interior. The contrast between the relatively mild coastal areas and the frigid interior continues to create dynamic and dangerous weather situations. Atlantic Canada is still dealing with the aftermath of recent winter storms. Nova Scotia saw significant impacts, with some schools and universities closed. Public transit, municipal buildings and recreational facilities ceased operations in the Cape Breton Regional Municipality. Tragically, a snowplow struck and killed a woman in Truro on the morning of January 31st. A sobering reminder of the dangers these winter conditions create. All right, folks, let's take a look at the 3-day forecast and see what's coming up. For Wednesday, February 11th, so today, the West Coast is still dealing with that atmospheric river, bringing more rain, gusty winds and mountain snow to California. High wind warnings are still in effect for those Southern California mountains, so, stay alert out there. Over in the plains and Midwest, a clipper system is moving through, bringing a bit of light snow, and we've got that classic lake effect snow continuing around the Great Lakes. Up in the northeast, that same clipper is dropping some light to moderate snow, but hey, conditions should start to improve by this evening. Down in the southeast, it's cold but dry. Temperatures are running well below average, so bundle up if you're heading out. And looking up to Canada, well, it's more of the same. Continued winter weather, with snow and some pretty extreme cold in a lot of regions. Now, for Thursday, February 12th, the West Coast will see that atmospheric river finally winding down, though there could still be some lingering mountain snow in the Sierra Nevada. Another system might roll in late in the day, so, keep an eye on that. The central US should be pretty quiet, and we'll start to see a gradual warming trend begin. In the northeast, conditions are much improved, maybe even a little partial sunshine, although temperatures will still be below average, but they're starting to moderate. Canada's looking pretty similar to Wednesday, with some gradual improvement as well. Looking ahead to Friday, February 13th, we're keeping a close eye on the West Coast for the potential return of that atmospheric river. Uncertainty is still high, so we'll have to wait and see. Over in the eastern US, a pretty significant warming trend kicks in, with temperatures climbing toward, or even above, normal for mid-February. Central US stays quiet and keeps warming up. And in Canada, we'll see gradual moderation in temperatures, with snow chances starting to decrease, especially in the southern regions. So yeah, that's the outlook. Plenty of ups and downs, but that's winter for you. All right, folks, here's a rundown of the current warnings and watches straight from the alert board. We've got some critical alerts in effect. High wind warnings are up for the San Bernardino County Mountains in California, as well as the Apple and Lucerne Valleys, California. These are valid until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Pacific Standard Time, on Wednesday, February 11th. Now, winter storm warnings are posted for the Sierra Nevada in California, and those are going to stick around through late Wednesday into early Thursday. Winter weather advisories? Well, those are in effect for northeast Montana, northern New York State, all of Vermont, all of New Hampshire, Maine, and up in northern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula. Wind advisories have been issued for Monterey and San Benito counties in California, plus the northern and central Sacramento Valley. And if you're in the Transverse Ranges of Southern California, there's a marginal risk for excessive rainfall. So, yeah, stay alert and keep an eye on those updates. Here's something that honestly doesn't get enough attention in your daily weather forecast, but it's absolutely crucial for understanding what we're all experiencing right now. We've got a confirmed stratospheric warming event on the way, and it's forecast to split and pretty much collapse the polar vortex by mid-February. And, well, this is a big deal. So what does that mean? The polar vortex, that swirling mass of cold air that's usually locked up tight over the Arctic, is going to weaken and could even split apart. When that happens, chunks of Arctic air can break off and plunge southward, bringing long stretches of cold and repeated storm windows in the weeks that follow. This kind of atmospheric disruption really bumps up the odds of high-impact winter weather sticking around well into late February and, heck, maybe even March. On top of that, La Niña is fading and we're heading toward ENSO-neutral conditions. That shift usually lets these high-latitude dynamics, like the polar vortex disruption, kind of run the show without as many tropical influences. In plain English, we could be looking at an extended stretch of active cold and stormy weather across big parts of North America. If you're planning to travel anywhere in North America today or over the next few days, here's what you really need to know. Major highway concerns include Interstate 80 through Donner Pass in California, extremely hazardous conditions there, so expect chain controls and, honestly, possible closures. Interstate 5 through California? Yeah, rain and wind are affecting travel, so please use caution. The I-95 corridor up in the northeast is improving, but you've still got to watch out for leftover ice and snow. If you're taking the Trans-Canada Highway across the prairies, expect extreme cold, drifting snow, and poor visibility. As for airports, mountain airports in California and out west may see delays due to snow and wind, while northeast airports are improving after those recent storms. And just a reminder, always check with your airline before heading out to the airport. All right, let's talk safety. If you're in an area under a high wind warning, make sure you secure any loose outdoor objects, avoid unnecessary travel, and stay away from windows during the peak wind periods. For those of you in a winter storm warning area, it's best to avoid travel if you can. But if you absolutely have to go out, carry emergency supplies. Think food, water, blankets, and a charged cell phone. Folks in areas recently hit by ice storms, remember to report any downed power lines immediately. Never approach them, and use generators safely. Outdoors only. And for general cold weather, safety. Dress in layers, limit your time outdoors, check on elderly neighbors, protect your pets, and keep